Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's going to be something new to the channel, and it's because of how much pure chaos it was, I guess. We're gonna talk about the 2020 presidential debate a little bit. I'm gonna try to sum it up for you. I tried to find the little bit of talking points that each candidate did make, because they did say certain things that could mean something to you, something to others. So I tried to at least get the times when they said something relevant out and write those down. But the first thing we gotta talk about before we even get to the topics or anything is the fact that the debate was unwatchable purely based on how many times people were interrupting other people. And that doesn't just include Donald Trump, that includes Joe Biden, and that includes Chris Wallace. I tried to come up with a rough tally. I've watched this too many times just so you don't have to. And the rough tally is that Donald Trump, he interrupted roughly, and if all three were talking over each other and arguing, I counted that as interrupting for each one. So he roughly interrupted about 37 times. Joe Biden interrupted roughly about 27 times. And Christopher Wallace interrupted and argued roughly about 12 times during the debate. So even the moderator couldn't moderate and has been facing a lot of backlash from Dems and Republicans coming right out of this. And so that was the first thing we had to talk about, was the utter talking over each other that happened. The first real question that was centered was the Supreme Court nominee. The second question that was centered was who can we trust to run this country during a pandemic. The third question was something along the lines of race equality in the United States right now. The fourth question was obviously why should we elect you, and fifth was the actual integrity of this election, and the worry that a lot of people have with the mail-in voting, possible fraud with that, and things like that. So the first question was based around the Supreme Court nominee, with the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing away. There's obviously a seat to be filled, and right out the gate, we want to know their opinions on it. Trump has nominated Amy Coney Bennett and was given the floor immediately. And first line in this debate was, "We won the election. Elections have consequences." Take that as you will. Pros, cons with it. I'm going to try to stay unbiased and maybe give a little my opinion at the end. But Biden's general approach to this was he doesn't necessarily disapprove. He said he doesn't disapprove of Amy Coney Bennett, but he does want to wait until after the election, purely based on what the voters are going to say on what seats are filled, and try to do it that way. Granted, there was different positioning back in 2016, but take that as you will. Now, Biden does drop his "I am the Democratic Party" line, and right out the gate, Chris Wallace does seem to be a little biased, even in this first questioning area. We do witness him kind of let Biden talk over Trump, not vice versa, but not to an extreme. I'm going to play two clips here, and you can just kind of see for yourself.
If I may ask my question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
God, I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
You pick.
So there is a lot of drama around the filibuster, and Biden refuses to answer the question on possibly packing the courts and doing things of that nature. You can see that here.
In voting now, vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
Are you going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're
to
a
answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
You want to put a lot of new Supreme Court justices, radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who?
And then we come to the second line of questioning, which is going to be focused around who can lead this country during this pandemic. especially seeming that we've been hit so hard. So it's going to influence the election whether you like it or not. Voting, it's going to influence whether you're talking metaphorically or just flat out literally with the mail-in voting, which we'll get into later. But pretty much, the floor is handed to Trump, President Trump, and he's going to go right into blaming China for this, and it does say that the vaccines are going to be coming soon. Now, Chris Wallace does kind of argue with him over that a little bit, trying to question him over contradicting statements that he made earlier concerning his own advisors, saying that it's going to be until summer 2021, and he somewhat disagrees. He says they're coming sooner than that, or at least he thinks they are. Biden does blame Trump for the shutdowns. He flat out is going to say that this economic problem, this recession, is his problem. It's his fault over this pandemic. It does come off a little odd that he kind of blames Trump for the pandemic itself, but you'll see that back and forth. Now, Biden does go back and forth in this area over a statement because he was questioned on if we should trust the scientists as strongly as some Democrats has said, and he says yes, and that does contradict a lot of the things that Harris has recently come out and said concerning muzzling the scientists or something along those lines. I'm going to play the video in just a second. You can take it as you will. It's going to be one of the longer ones that I include here, but it's good for context.
Reluctant to take it. Are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
Everybody
you can't,
knows.
or Senator Harris is saying you can't trust the scientists.
No, you can't trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust
She said the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do.
The next kind of sub-questioning, because we didn't really get into, the actual race equality yet, but the sub-questioning along with that was the difference in the economic rebound between a V-shaped rebound and a K-shaped rebound. Now, I found this question to be just flat out dumb, just because it's the same thing in my personal view. I understand the plateauing effect near the end is slightly different, but the actual rebound is just about the same. So I'm going to include a video where Chris Wallace, the one who obviously came up with the questions, also doesn't really seem to know how to ask the question, and it does get interesting responses, mainly just arguing over each other because it's not a substance question. So I'm going to include that here.
President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy?
The next little bit of information that we get in this area is going to be that Trump wants to open the states, which some people agree with, some people disagree with. I'm going to keep my mouth shut at this point, but he wants to open. I'm going to play a clip of him saying that essentially people can govern themselves in washing their hands, social distancing, wearing masks when needing to, and take care of themselves.
They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want, but they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, and these governors are under siege.
That we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis.
Now, as you saw, I included with that clip a secondary clip of Joe Biden essentially saying to not open. He's saying, why open? We need to control this pandemic first, and then we can, move forward in the economy. This is one of the bigger questions of the election, is going to be shutting down versus not shutting down. What are we going to do with the vaccines and things like that? This part I'm definitely curious about on what you guys think. So definitely comment about that part, and we'll move forward. The next part that was mentioned that was some sort of substance was Joe Biden's tax increase of $4 trillion for people that make over $400,000 a year. Now, some people agree with that, some people don't. Tax the rich, don't tax the rich. The tax loopholes involved anyways. Also, I'd like to hear y'all's opinions about that. The next questioning that we had was race equality in the United States, and there was practically no context in this part at all. I've watched it several times. My girlfriend, who's sitting over here, just kind of hanging out, had to struggle and watch it with me as well. Here's 2 videos of that area. There's not much context. What context I could find? There you go. It's mainly them arguing.
Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go ahead. Think. We have time.
We don't have time to do anything.
No, think
All right.
Name one law enforcement group that came out and supported you.
Gentlemen, I think I'm going to take back the moderator's
I don't
role,
think there are any.
and I want to get to another subject, which is the.
His own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that.
Now, the next line of questioning is why should you be elected? It's essentially that when you're going to get a job, why should we hire you? What of your record proves that you're worthy of this? And President Trump immediately comes out and says, well, when Joe Biden and Obama were in office and they left me 128 open seats for judges. Who does that? As a vice president, as a president, you shouldn't have done that. You proved that you really didn't care leaving office. And who does that? Biden, on the other hand, says we left you a booming economy, and there's no real other reasons given on why we should elect them. You can take the booming economy comment with a grain of salt, just because the unemployment rate did go down afterwards, and we did create jobs. But there are other things that were going on with that. So I'd like to hear y'all's opinions as well. Moving on, because that didn't have much context either, was the last part, which was the actual election integrity of the 2020 election. A lot of people are worried about mail-in voting. A lot of people are worried about the reactions to the fact that we are not going to know on election night who won. We are not going to know that. We are not going to know the day after election night. We are not going to know that. It could be weeks, and as Trump said multiple times, it could be months. So with this special election where the pandemic has absolutely changed everything, the question was slated essentially, will you pledge to not claim victory without the official, independently verified results? Will you make sure that we absolutely know that you win before you claim victory, and will you pledge to make sure that your supporters do the same and don't cause civil unrest? President Donald Trump said, if it's fair, I'm essentially behind it. But this is a fraudulent election. I personally, from what I saw there, he called it a fraudulent election. He sees it as mail-in voting is going to be fraudulent. It's not a if, it's not a where. It's going to be widespread. He is worried about it. He brought up earlier in the debate, finding those stories about Trump ballots being thrown into waste baskets and things like that. So he's very worried about that. And Biden just says yes. He goes on to his, you got to go out and vote stance on it, and does his little spiel over that. But overall, he just says, yeah, no, I'll pledge not to do that. So there's not much sustenance with this debate. The little bits that I could find, I tried to pick out for you guys and condense down, because this was 90 minutes of three men just arguing. It didn't give us a lot. What it did give us was that Trump used the bully strategy maybe a little too hard. He was going to come in and bully the stage. That was obviously his tactic from the beginning. It was very obvious from the beginning. I mean, just in my notes, he interrupted. Well, I have it on the other stack because there was a book. But he interrupted immediately. It was going to be his stance on the debate, and that can be good and that can be bad. I mean, depending on how you like to debate someone, an aggressive stature can be good. It all depends. I think he might have taken it a little too far and just didn't let the air, sit in the room so that people could sit with the answers and sit with the questions and not just be utter chaos. Even though Biden did accuse him of using the chaos to his advantage. Biden, though, in my opinion, looked very weak during the debate. He let Trump talk over him. When he tried to talk over him, he was very childish. He told him to shut up. He laughed a lot of the time. It was, if he wanted to make himself look professional and Trump unprofessional, he didn't do that. He didn't do that at all. All he did was let Trump bully him and stoop down to saying shut up and laughing at him and attacking his family at certain points. It didn't do him any favors. And quite frankly, Chris Wallace was unprofessional the entire time. The questions were obviously stated and then predetermined on who answers first. That's fine, but they were slated in a way that President Trump would not be able to respond to Biden. It happened multiple times where Trump would be like, "Hey, he made a statement. I want to reply to that, and we got to move on. We got to move on." So it was not professional. He did not moderate. He did not do a good job, and hopefully the other two do a lot better. Now, what do you guys think? If you guys were able to watch it, I'd love to know your comments down below. If you guys weren't able to watch it and you just kind of got my little summary of it, what do you think? I mean, that's essentially what you're going to get if you watch it. You're not going to get much more information. There was only a few questions that were actually answered. There was only a few statements that were factually and confidently given. What do you guys think? I'm curious. Comment, like, share, and I'll see you soon. I'm awful at these schedules things, but you guys, if you're at the end of the video, already know that. See ya.